right, this one is number 13 on your final exam review. And it is a little bit trickier because they didn't quite write it the way that we normally practiced it during class. So what we have here is we have a picture of an inequality. And I know this is a graph of an inequality and not an equation because there's shading. So what it's doing is it wrote the equation over here and it wants to know what inequality symbol is going to go right there. Is it going to be a greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to symbol? And so the thing I check first is it dotted or a solid line? And I know you might not be able to see it well on the screen, but this is a dotted line, which means it's not equal to. We cannot make it equal to if it's a dotted line. So it's either going to be a greater than sign, or it's going to be, well, I did that backwards, a less than sign or a greater than sign, but it cannot be equal to, because equal to would have been a solid line. Now here's where it gets tricky. I look at this and immediately I assume that this is a greater than sign because we shaded above. The problem is they didn't write the equation in slope-intercept form. So if it's in slope-intercept form, that's all you have to do. If it's above, it's greater than. If we shaded below, it's less than. But this isn't slope-intercept form. So instead, what we need to do is we need to plug in one of these points to figure out if it's going to be greater than or less than sign. So you pick a point from the shaded region. So I'm just going to pick 4, -2. So my x is 4, so I'm going to plug in a 4 where the x is, and my y is -2. So there's already a minus sign there, so we have a minus -2, and then we have 5 on this side. So over here, a minus and -2 turns into a +2, so we have -4 + 2, and on this side we have 5. So basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out what sign needs to go here. Does it need to be a greater than sign or does it need to be a less than sign? So -4 + 2 is -2. Is -2 greater than or less than 5? And the answer is less than. So that's what goes here. It's going to be a less than sign. And remember, we know it's not less than or equal to because it's not a solid line. So to check to see whether it's solid or dotted will tell you whether or not it's equal to. Then you got to plug in a point to figure out whether it's going to be a less than sign or a greater than sign. For our next one, we're going to look at number 19 from the review. And number 19 is a multiplication problem. And the reason I know it's multiplication is these two parentheses are sitting right next to each other, and there's no operation sign in between them. There's no plus sign there, no minus sign there, then it must be multiplication. So multiplication, but you have to be careful because we need to multiply this x times everything in the second set, and we need to multiply the -3 by everything in the second set. So it's like using the distributive property, but we're going to be using the distributive property twice. So first let's distribute the x. So we have x times x squared, which makes x to the 3rd power. The exponents are what you have to be the most careful of on these problems. We have x times -7x, so that's -7x squared, because x times x makes x squared. And then x times -1 just makes -1x. Right now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to distribute the -3. So we have -3 times x squared is -3x squared. We have -3 times -7x. So -3 times -7 is +21, and we have an x. And -3 times -1 is a +3. So those are all the terms we get. Again, what you need to be the most careful of are your exponents. When it's a multiplication problem, we add the exponents. Now that we've got all these terms, our last step is to combine like terms together. So there's only one term with an exponent of 3, so x to the 3rd goes in front. We have a -7x squared, and we have a -3x squared. So when we combine those together, it gives us negative 10x squared. We have a negative 1x and a positive 21x. So when we combine those together, we get a positive 20x. And then we have this plus 3 on the end. All right, let's see. Yep, that was 5 problems from your review. So if you've got any questions besides these 5, make sure you let me know before Friday so I can help you out with that before you get the final exam.